Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the MC Events Podcast. This is episode 21, and I'm your host, Joey Capollo, joined once again by Gilan.
Hello.
As you can probably see by the title and thumbnail of this video, we're going to talk about the future of Minecraft events and where we think they're going, and where we why we see them going that way based on current trends and the tech available, essentially. So, Gilan, start us off.
Basically, we came up with this idea very recently, as in the last couple hours, because we didn't really have a plan. A lot of people who've been listening for a while will know that we kind of started with these sort of episodes. We were just kind of discussing things and then moved out of it. So it's kind of fun to go back to find it because we kind of ran out of topics. But this was kind of one we always wanted to do. And there's, a lot to talk about. So Minecraft events have changed a lot, and that's kind of really like it's kind of in like the thesis of this podcast is that like we go back and watch and react to older events and we talk about how they've changed. If you've seen our videos reacting to like MCC 1 or recently Block Wars Origins 1 or Minecraft Monday, those events compared to where either they are now, if they've been an event that's been updated a bunch, or just the event scene in general, there's been a lot of, I would say positive change over time.
Really, for us, it's been a case of looking back at all these things that have been done to help us improve what we're going to do next and to help you improve your making event out there. But also, like, how is this going to change the event space? Because it is obviously unrecognizable from what it was back when Minecraft Monday was happening weekly.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the issues right now in the event space is like a lot of events are very similar. And that kind of comes from this idea of like everyone's kind of inspired by watching other events to make their own events, right?
Yes.
Most events that are running now basically exist because of MCC. Like it's people who've watched MCC and wanted to make their own events, and that's kind of resulted in a thing where most events in the space, at least that are more publicly known about, are mini game events designed for either content creators or group of friends, where you get a bunch of points through a bunch of different games, and either the team with the most point wins, or you have a finale game where the two teams that are in the lead face off against each other.
And similar things that they all have, or there's a place to vote on what games can be played. There are certain styles of games every event has, i.e. that kind of ace race or battle box inspired games. But there's a sense that each of these games is a new iteration and change on what MCC is doing, but it's still it's still in the same niche. It's still very similar. And so what is it then going to look like differently when people start breaking out of this niche and deciding to do different things?
Yeah, I think currently a lot of events are in this mini game style because it's very like replayable, and like we're on, what was it, MCC 30 something,
33
33, not, and that's like canon one, like because there's also other MCC events. The nice thing about having a mini game event is that, I mean, when we watched MCC 1, most of those games aren't even there anymore, or if they've changed so much that they're different, but the event still exists as MCC because the kind of wrapper around it has not changed. The idea of MCC hasn't, even though the games have, and it means that you can just keep the event going for a while and switch things out, and different people can come in and have a different experience. And with voting, each event feels a bit different because the order changes. And it's just kind of something that's become very recognizable to players as this is what Minecraft events are.
Yeah, and it allows the event itself to keep a form of stability when you're able to have it be this mini game format, because Noxtrew making MCC can be like, oh, this game didn't work, we'll put in a new game, but the event format's going to stay the same. All of the like background assets and kind of theming is going to stay the same. So when they're adding something new to the event, they still have to do a lot of work. It's still very difficult to make a fun new mini game, but you're not having to build from the ground up. It's being like inserted into this essentially template, and it's able to then function within the MCC universe, and then still able to be fun for the players. And I think the other thing with mini game events is because they typically last like 2 to 3 hours, it's very hard to make an event where you play one game for 2-3 hours and it's fun. Comparatively, if you play 9 different games, well, obviously people are going to have fun, different amounts of fun in each of them, but you don't have to make each game engaging for as long as you need to make one game engaging for 2 hours.
Mhm.
And obviously, there have been events with other formats. I mean, the classic one, which is a game that lasts 2 hours, and the one game is MC Ultimate, which is the giant survival slash Hunger Games event. And then as well, some of the Twitch rivals that were more focused on one game mode of just PvP or fighting each other teams with Minecraft. There's also the Mizkif Twitch rivals from really long ago. And some of those have been more set to be like a competitive kind of version of an event. But even like the speedrunning events themselves, like you might know Ender Dragon Race potentially if you're affiliated with, if you know all about CM stuff, but as well with the current speedrunning ranked and speedrunning tournaments, they're essentially playing the same game for an entire event. But because it's in this more competitive format, it's interesting for, an extra
Mhm.
several hours of play.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like, you can't rule something out until you've tried it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think that's an important thing to remember. And we talk a lot about how when you're making an event, you can't just expect to be MCC because you don't have you probably don't have the money or people to be at that level.
Yeah.
But what you do have is you have your own ideas, you have your own creativity, and you do have your own time. And if you're willing to take time to make something that you believe in, do it and try it out, because really you have very little to lose. And actually, even when you fail, if it's a personal project, you have a lot to gain. You learn, you get experience from failing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have an idea and people are like, I don't see how that could be fun, make it anyway, and be all right. Be fine with people saying it isn't fun, or be fine with people saying I don't really understand it. But as long as you're kind of trying stuff, that's what's important.
Mm-hmm.
Trying out new ideas.
And I think a lot of the things we're seeing with events is people feel very safe making similar to MCC style events, similar games, similar themes, similar concept. But it ends up just kind of not necessarily feeling the same as MCC because there's obviously different level of polish, but I'd argue a lot of these small events feel similar to each other in ways.
Mhm.
And this is not like a dig at them. This is just how it is when you're all formatted the same, all like one step removed from MCC's like inspiration. You're going to feel similar. And so my challenge would be like find some way to be unique and different. Like why is your event not just MCC but this? It should instead be it's not MCC but this and this, like two things that make it stand out and not just like, oh, it's slightly different.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think the other thing that's worth talking about though is there's a current like waning interest in MCC and Minecraft in general, from a viewership side of things that I think will likely change it up again. Because right now on YouTube and Twitch, like the biggest audiences watching Minecraft are non-English speakers. And so you're about to get an influx of people who are very excited to watch their creators play. Some of them played MCC, the Spanish speaking ones playing there, some playing Block Wars. You're about to soon have all these people get exposed to events that have a whole different background of like what games they're used to playing. And they're going to start making their own things. They're going to start making them in ways that are probably different than our current like second iterations of MCC.
If you're if you're listening to this podcast in English, there's a chance that you just are kind of trapped in the English speaking community for Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a very limited part of even just Minecraft community as a whole, gaming as a whole. And there's, as Joey said, there's a lot of other, the Spanish speaking community, different, like, as I guess with Pet Polish,
I forget where they were.
But like there's a lot of other space that it's not even like it's not unexplored, it's just people aren't looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like not everyone's looking at it, but there are tons of people doing unique things there and having a fun time.
Yes. For example, like eBay or eBay, IBAY, the Spanish streamer who's got like broke the Twitch record for his like live IRL events hosting currently. And it's like once some of those people who are making, not necessarily him, because I doubt he's going to make a Minecraft event, but people like kind of in that similar space where they're trying to innovate and make new kind of events, how will they come into Minecraft and do things? And I think we'll see this kind of related to what's currently going on with YouTube, where the most popular content is about ideas. For example, like the Lifesteal SMP, if you don't know it, they're the SMP where if you die, you lose a heart, you die 10 times, you get kicked off the server. But all their videos on the server are ideas. They'll be like, I started a war with this person, or I farmed for I farmed 1,000,000 melons. How long did it take me? Like all of their
Mhm.
popular videos are either like on the server, but not talking about being on the server necessarily, and just doing the idea for it. And even the ones who like made a video playing in Block Wars, like Ashwagging did, the video was called like "How My Lag Let Me Win the Hardest Minecraft Event" or something, or lagging my way to a win in the hardest Minecraft event. Like that's very much set up where it's about this idea. So if there's a way to take that idea and turn it into an event, I think
Mhm.
we'll see that more. So then it's able to turned into content easier by the content creators who play in it. So then they have more of a justification for playing in it. That's just having fun and streaming it. But also it now is a very popular YouTube video for them to post after they, put it together.
Yeah, in many ways, the current Minecraft event landscape of a mini game event is almost like a let's play,
Yes.
where it's just like you get to a point where you've seen it so many times before that even when the game switches, it doesn't feel different. Like it doesn't feel that different. Like it just feels like, okay, what's really hooking in people to both play and watch it? Like it's just
Hmm.
another Minecraft event.
You'll notice if you watch a lot of the like Hermitcraft or others who play in MCC, like they don't make YouTube videos on their main channel about MCC anymore. Just
Mhm.
because it's hard to distill what's going on this event that's kind of complicated to newcomers. And it's also very repetitive after you've played in it a bunch of times to then distill into a new kind of video concept. So it's finding a way that hope that one day maybe the event format will be not necessarily one-offs, but they'll be in some way be able to be packaged as one-offs so that then they could be put into video form or put into other content form that makes it understandable to everyone, and it's not kind of this iterative thing that's played again and again and again and again, and then it kind of loses some of the spice of why it's so exciting.
Mhm.
Obviously that'd be really hard to do, and you can't just say like, oh, somebody make a new event every month that everyone's going to play in, because that's way too much work to expect from anybody to do. But it's trying to find like a new format that kind of like takes an event concept but allows it to be run iteratively.
Yeah.
I don't have answers for that. If you do, make sure to leave them in comments because I will obviously want to talk about them, because I think that's the concept that we're going to come to hopefully at some point. And I think it'll be really cool when we get to there, so that then these events, when they are done live and they get lots of viewers, they can also be shared more easily and accessibly to other people who, you want your friends to be interested in this. But it's really hard
Mhm.
to share with your friends a VOD of MCC and just say, watch, when they don't know what's going on. Whereas if there's sometime an event that's more easy to understand, you'd be like, hey, just watch this. This is really awesome. And we'll see if we ever get there. But obviously, Minecraft itself is also changing. The game is. It's going to get more updates and things. And that's also going to change the landscape of what's possible within the game.
Yeah, I think one of the you know, a lot of times you don't think about something like, they added archaeology in the most recent Minecraft update. Um, and you can't really think of like what game do I make where you brush things. Like that's not exactly
Hmm.
something that comes to mind. But a lot of times there are these small things that you can actually turn into stuff. I mean, the big ones that stand out is like the elytra. Like think about how many games
Yes.
and Ace Race could not exist without the elytra. In a lot of movement-based games, like the elytra has become an important part of Minecraft, especially in the like this mini game event idea. Um, and there are other things like every update has a chance to kind of add in something new and interesting. Um, and of course, like mechanics are the most like some sort of mechanic add to the game is the most interesting, and that has what you can do with that. But also just like new blocks and new items in general. If there's something that adds in some new weird skulk, that was a good one. Like recently, like having the skulk stuff added in. And like entities like or mobs like the warden, like we've seen like a kind of like an escape room style thing where you're getting
Hmm.
chased by the warden, like that's kind of taking a new mechanic and playing around with it. And there's always there's always room for taking something that's like the Mojang devs added this for this reason, but what is another thing I can do with it? Because that's really what
Yes.
Minecraft events are. It's taking vanilla Minecraft and messing with it.
Exactly. And it's a case of like, we don't know immediately when a new thing is put into Minecraft how much it's going to change the game. I think elytras were obviously a big deal right
Mhm.
when they came out, but it wasn't until Nox Crew made the Terra Swoop Force map that people went, oh, this can be like elytra flying can actually be like really skillful and really exciting to do.
Mhm.
Because you didn't really have that in the base terrain of the game. You didn't have nothing would generate like that back then. And to make a map like that would have taken you hundreds of hours of effort by yourself. And so
Yeah.
seeing these tools are going to get added, you're like, cool, this might allow us to do something neat, but you don't know until you've tried out it and other people try it out, and you build upon all these different uses for these things until you hit a point where like, oh, could be a really fun game concept.
Mhm. Yeah, no, we talked about in a older episode about like, making game ideas and mixing game mechanics together, and the
Mm-hmm.
idea of like looking at what does Minecraft have to offer, what can we do with it. And I guess like a fun concept is like when a Minecraft update comes out, kind of look at some of the new stuff and just kind of like, you know, what if I mix this with this, does this result in something
Mm-hmm.
interesting? Like, what can I do? What can I do with the brush? Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, if take this mob and I put in this scenario, like, what can it do? And you can do your own little, thought experiments there and come up with, new, unique ideas.
Well, even consider like you say using archaeology, using the brush to like clean something off. Imagine in the grid runners room of MCC where instead of, digging the dirt off the statue, which makes sense, you're cleaning it off. Instead, you just have to use your brush on it and clean it off. And
Mhm.
does it really change the gameplay? No, not really. But you could also then you could go a step further with it where you like uncover an item that you then need to put somewhere, or it just
Mhm.
makes it feel more like you're actually cleaning it versus just digging up
Mhm.
blocks.
Yep.
Because I also think that the more we get with different kinds of blocks and features in Minecraft, the more you're able to like express what's happening, um, like directly to the gameplay. Like
Mhm.
like back when we talked about this with Rocket Spleef and MCC, when they changed from the original like shovel, which obviously the shovel was just a rocket launcher, people understood it. They changed that model to like a gun as a rocket launcher to like shoot you up and shoot fireballs. And it's not necessarily that rocket launcher gun changes the gameplay, but it just makes it all feel more in theme. And so
Mhm.
when Minecraft adds new things like cherry blossoms or other trees or things like that, you can all of a sudden use more themes that weren't available before.
Yeah, and there's also this thing where like resource packs exist.
Yes.
And if you wanted cherry blossoms, you could just add them in yourself. Like you could basically change it something to look like it. But the thing is that,
Then it doesn't look
letting Moj
vanilla.
yeah, then it doesn't look yeah, it's that idea like let let the team of professionals make the art
Hmm.
and provide it to you. And build off of that instead of having to take your time to make something and try to make it fit.
Yes, exactly.
If you look at something like Block Wars or MCC, both of their resource packs aren't. I mean, MCC's kind of because of Island has updated theirs, but
Mm,
their resource pack isn't complete. They haven't changed every single thing in the game.
yes.
Like there's still stuff that looks vanilla, and because of that, they have to make theirs kind of look vanilla
Hmm.
because you have to try to blend in with the rest of the game, and you just kind of want to customize a few things. You can see it better with a lot of older MCC, with like older MCC resource packs when they still use more vanilla blocks.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like the idea of letting Mojang do the work for you a lot of times is like they're providing you with a game to build off on. So might as well use as much of that game as
Yes.
possible.
It's also trying to make it still feel newcomer friendly, whether you're playing it or
Mhm.
watching it. If you can recognize, that's a stone block, that's a wood block, that's concrete. Versus
Mhm.
if it was only custom blocks, you're going to get overwhelmed really quickly to understand.
Mhm.
That's why it
Yeah,
stands
I
at
mean,
time as the classic one where everyone gets the most stressed out.
mhm. And I think also on the MCC theme, when you have something like Build Mart, where sometimes because of the resource pack, people can't tell what block it is, they had to like add in the feature
Yes.
which tells you, hey, this is this block. It has a little thing that tells you which one it is, because people are so used to the vanilla textures. But I brought up like resource packs and like their how they can do a lot. And actually most of the events you're seeing that do kind of like crazy stuff, it's basically through resource packs, like messing around with adding custom models. So if you've run around on MCC Island or Origin Realms, or any of those other types of servers, you've probably seen these custom items, and that's done through resource packs, which is a thing that Mojang has added in so that people can add their own stuff. Um, Another kind of less known one is core shaders, and this is
Hmm.
essentially, to describe it in a basic sense, when you're playing Minecraft and you look at like a wall, all that's really happening in the background is it's like, okay, so there's here and they're this texture. And then your game has to figure out like, okay, based off of the angle I'm looking at them, like how am I supposed to render them? Like is it supposed to be lit,
Hmm.
unlit? Uh, is it transparent? Like, do I have to be able to see the mob through it if it's glass? Like those kinds of things, right? So shaders decide that. And a cool thing that happened, I think it was like 1.14, is that Minecraft kind of said, oh, in your resource pack file, when you like download it on a server, when you join a server and it loads the resource pack, you can basically mess with the vanilla shaders. And that's what allows kind of a lot of the new cool stuff that if you've gone on an island, for example, um, a very simple example is you may, if you play on Hypixel a lot, be used to the red numbers in the scoreboard. Like the idea, like there's just
Hmm.
those red numbers, like the vanilla built-in ones. Using a shader, you can basically like move those, like you can delete them
Oh.
by changing how it renders. Another example is uh, I think Island does Island have the I think a lot of the custom things like the coin animations that play when you like level up or something that shows above your hotbar, that essentially uses shaders to make sure that it looks correct and it doesn't like render it weirdly because Minecraft will add in like shadows and stuff. And it's
Hmm.
kind of like opening up the doors for developers and especially artists to create really cool looking things in Minecraft that doesn't feel vanilla. Um, and it's I guess another example on Island because they have quite a few of them is when you the buttons in the menus, making sure that those buttons are actually just like an item, like it's just opening up a chest that's been retextured to look like a menu, and when you click on the button, it doesn't actually show what item it is, and that's using essentially a shader to hide the
Hmm.
hovering thing, so it just looks like a normal button. Um, but one of the issues, and this is kind of talking about like again the future of Minecraft events, is that currently there is a lack of documentation. I remember I was talking to someone recently about this. There is basically very few examples of how to create these shaders, um, and like how, because it is like an internal Minecraft thing that developers were like, oh yeah, sure, you guys can play around with it, but they didn't really tell people how to use them. And actually, most of the examples literally come from one of the Bojang developers who just released like, hey, here's like a bunch I made for fun, and like that's
Hmm.
all there is. So it's kind of like a uncharted land where that's why a lot of servers recently you may have been seeing them, but they can be used in events too because it's any Minecraft server. You can start messing around with them and try to change some visual things. And I guess if you're a developer and you find something cool, it'd be helpful if you like post it on GitHub so other people can see it.
Or post it.
Please.
Twitter's probably not staying around for so long.
Yeah,
Eventually, we'll find
just
a
put it on
what.
GitHub.
Eventually, we'll find a new social media platform to move to kind of get everybody together. I At some
Hmm.
point, I think there will be again. I mean, there's the Minecraft developers, several of those discords, but I
Hmm.
think one day we'll have the Minecraft events wide Discord server. But for
Hmm.
the right now, it doesn't isn't quite where we want the community we want to be to make that happen.
Hmm.
But obviously, the community is a lot of the reason why a lot of these things can work because there's so many tools required to make
Hmm.
an event. And Gilan, you wrote down just a few of them here on our notes, which are public APIs for certain plugins that are so important to have for an event.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest ones that I'm sure basically anyone who's built something in Minecraft that is larger than a dirt house will be World Edit. That's a very common one that a lot of people have interacted with. It basically allows you to create custom brushes that place tons of blocks at one time, or select two corners and just fill it with a bunch of blocks and like take out what could be hours of placing blocks manually, or just having to use the base Minecraft commands that are really annoying
Mm-hmm.
and time consuming. Um, Another one that is more specific to developers is protocol lib and luck perms. So protocol lib is basically a system that allows you to, I guess, the way that Minecraft servers work is they're messing with the packets that get sent. So you send, "Hey, I moved." The server can send back, "Hey, no, you didn't," and they can lock you in place and do other funny stuff like that and give you items and those kind of things. Protocol Lib essentially allows you to get really nitty gritty with it and mess with the individual bytes and bits and of the packets themselves. It's a bit more complicated than that, but that's a very simple explanation. And then Luck Perms is just a lot of servers use this, like a lot of public, like large public servers use this.
Hmm.
And it just allows you to make sure that only the admins can like use certain commands, like making sure that a player can't join and stop the server or something like that. It's just a very, there's these tools that basically result in, a developer not having to spend hundreds of hours making it themselves. And
Yes.
that's kind of like the Minecraft community as a whole is very early on. We just kind of agreed that yeah, we're not gonna like we're gonna have these open tools for everyone to use, and just make sure that people can get used to them. And there's a lot of people who spend a lot of their time fixing these tools and updating them every update,
Hmm.
like every time the base game gets updated. And those people are awesome. And it's a good thing that we have them. And if you ever are a developer and are able to help work on those things,
It's
that would
awesome.
be very helpful. That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Um, but on top of that, one thing I wanted to talk about that's kind of really important for these events is I remember I was talking to Joey about the Ish civilization videos, the
Hmm.
most recent one especially, where he essentially had like 1,000 people playing on a Minecraft server. And anyone who knows like how a Minecraft world, and actually by Minecraft server I mean like one Minecraft world, anyone who knows even just a little technical things about Minecraft, they will know that by the time you get to like 100 or 200 people, the server just starts crashing and destroying itself. Um, but there's been a lot of advancements recently through Folia and Multipaper, which are two tools that basically allow you to spread out the workload of a big server across different machines, different boxes that are kind of running it all. And these kinds of advancements are really helpful because it means that you can start upping the number of players that are in an event. Because we talk about these like content creator events with like 40 or 50 people, but like there's also those kind of community events that have like hundreds or thousands of players just
Yes.
joining in for it. And that's a different kind of event. We don't really talk about it as much because that's not the kind of events we're usually focused on. Um, but it is the kind of thing where even that can be turned into a content creator event. Like if you wanted to, you could be like, what if we had a content creator event like MCU, but there's 300 people online? Like, what would
Hmm.
that be like? What if we, had a content creator SMP that's kind of like similar to something like the Third Life or like the Hermitcraft thing, except there's hundreds of people online. Like, what is that like? What can that be like? And that's the kind of questions that we can get answered soon with a lot of these technologies developing, all due to people in the community wanting these things and working towards them.
Yeah. And it's a case of like there's so many different things being put together in Minecraft right now because so much attention has been put on it in the past couple of
Mhm.
years that I mean I can't say definitively, neither of us can say definitively where events are going to go, but all that we really need to say is, which is a pretty easy claim to make, is that they're going to keep improving and they're going to get more creative.
Yeah.
And we're working on stuff. Gilan in particular is working on stuff that hopefully will be part of that coming soon. But I also think there's lots of other people making cool stuff, either behind the scenes or talking about it actively. And like the
Mhm.
more you support the people like that are developing it or working on these things, the better. And just help lift everyone up so we can keep making cooler things that people can play in, people can watch, people can just enjoy and see what can be made when you like use your creativity in this way.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
anything else to say to wrap us up, Gillen?
uh, I did write in some random other things at the end
Sure.
here. Um, One thing that I was interested to see was for MCC they have the what's it Noxesium client mod,
Hmm.
which I think works. It's both for Island and for the event, I believe.
Yes.
It works in both. And I think a lot of content creator, like basically all the people, everyone playing in the most recent MCC was using it. And it basically does a lot of stuff that Minecraft can't. Like you can't really do inside Minecraft. You have to add it in separately because plugins and servers are limited. Eventually you need to download a mod to handle some stuff.
Hmm.
And I'm interested to see if people start doing that, especially for content creator events where you can just go to a content creator and ask them like, "Hey, can you download this?" Like I get for a public server, it's a lot to ask for people to download a mod to
Yes.
join. But for, creators, it's not that bad. A lot of them might already be using Lunar or, Fabric for other stuff anyway. Um, and then one like just like random thing because I was just talking about like, multi-paper or Folia, and these like massive servers. I'm interested to see if we get to a point where essentially you can have, your 30 to 20 to 40 player Minecraft event, but because you're able to support other player, like so many more players, you can actually, have spectators. Like people can
Hmm.
actually join the game and look around. Now, this has, there's a multitude of problems with letting people just into the server, and
Yes.
even if they're only spectators. But, um, it's these kind of like, additional questions to ask of like, where can we push events to get it to be more interesting to watch, more interesting to play in, and just having idea, as I said earlier, way earlier, just having ideas and trying them is always a great idea.
Exactly. And I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up for this one. Next episode might be a week delayed as well because I will get going taking another vacation. I'm also gone this coming weekend.
Mhm.
We're just great with timing this summer. But
Yep.
let us know in the comments, if there's another event you want us to watch that we haven't, or something in particular you want us to interview. I think I'll also try to see if we can get Bumpy Jake, who's often a creator for lots of events you've probably heard of, to be on the next one. But that requires
Mhm.
us to plan, which is sometimes difficult.
Mhm. Cool.
But thank you all for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.